Hi, this is Emily Felice with Avionics magazine, here with David Bruner, Vice President, Global Communication Services for Panasonic Avionics. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Emily.
It's been an exciting show for you here at at NBAA. Can you give me a brief rundown of the announcement that you made yesterday?
Sure. It's a big one for us. We are now able to offer our Global Communications Suite, which is a selection of products for the business aviation market, and really for the kind of the top end of that market, the head of state, fly air transport category aircraft. It's very much like our airline customers, but they're also a very demanding group, and they want the best in communication services for those aircraft. And so our product is very well tuned for that, because it's probably the highest bandwidth service, global coverage, and allows some new features, live television and other features that are really in demand by this very particular set of people.
And what kind of service can passengers expect using this system?
Really to have almost anything that they would have in the office or in their home. And these people have the best, because that's the kind of lives they lead. They need to, for usually it's business reasons or government reasons that they're out traveling. And so they really need to have extremely high quality internet connections. They can have access to a corporate and secure virtual private network. They also want to have very high quality voice communications on board their aircraft, so they can communicate with key people on the ground. They don't want it to sound scratchy or like some really poor satellite connections. They want it to sound like it would anywhere else they're communicating. And then they want to be able to stay in touch with what's going on in the world. And so our live television product is really focused on live news and sports and business news, which is perfect for this kind of clientele. They want to know what's happening live in the world. They have the best of movies. They can go out and buy whatever they want to, but they really want to have that live aspect to it, and they can afford to have the best equipment on board their aircraft, and so now they can actually get what they're looking for.
So you mentioned telephone and TV. What other kind of capabilities does the system offer?
Really anything that uses an IP connection. So one of the ones that's probably never been able to be, and highly demanded in this marketplace, but never been able to be delivered, is video conferencing. A lot of these people, it's the top executives of a particular corporation, and they're traveling somewhere and they want to have a video conference back to the corporate office. They couldn't do that. And that aircraft, which why would they be here investing in so much money in these aircraft? They are traveling offices. The staff, when they're off, if they're buying another company or whatever they're doing, they need to be able to communicate back to the corporate office. And they haven't been able to do that with the tools that they would use in the rest of their operations. And they like the video conference because they want to see you when they're talking to you, to see, okay, what's the body language here? And even if someone was to do a test of these things, the video quality would be so poor that you really wouldn't be worth it. You just do an audio conference. We have enough bandwidth, and the bandwidth is available at a price that's very reasonable, so that these customers can actually have a video conference going on board their aircraft with their staff back at the corporate headquarters. And it would be no different than the group that's in Paris talking to the group that's in New York, but they're on board a plane over the North Atlantic and doing all this. And so really, when you look at it from a business standpoint, the investment in that airplane now has more value, because they can really do with it. It's a traveling corporate office wherever they want to go. All of their networking, their security, the tools that they use in the office, 100% compatible with what's on board the airplanes. This is just a pure internet protocol communication link, so anything they do on either side will work for this system.
And what kind of components are we talking about? What are the pieces of the system that make this possible?
It's super simple. It's really just a very, very sophisticated antenna. It's one we spend a lot of time and money developing. It's really different from most others in the marketplace, because most of those have trouble operating around the equator or between the tropics, and they get interference from other satellites. And so our antenna, we spent a little extra money and time to develop it in such a way that it can work anywhere in the world, and it also has very high bandwidth anywhere in the world. And that's really the only one like it in the world at this time. There's also one little box over here. It's the satellite modem that goes on board the aircraft. Very small, very light. And then the rest of it is just, do they want to have a wired Ethernet connection? Do they want to have wireless, so they open all their laptops and be able to communicate? We also offer a product if you would like to be able to use your own telephone on board the aircraft, and so that no one even knows you're on board an airplane. It just follows you. They call your number and it rings on board the airplane. We offer that product as well. or they can actually install and they can actually buy whatever model they want to off the shelf, a Cisco or any other product for a VoIP telephone. They can install that on board the airplane, and that could be the airplane phone. And you hand out cards that actually have the number for the airplane and say, call me in the airplane. And so, and for the crew, they really like that because that becomes the airplane phone. So these are really neat products and capabilities that, about 25 years I've been around this business, we've given little pieces, little glimpses of this technology, but we never had the bandwidth to be able to really offer something comparable to what you would have on the ground, and or any other mobile communications that are available in the marketplace. We did our best, but it was just so hard to ever have enough bandwidth. And this product, because it's really adapted from just the same satellite communications you see on every 7-Eleven, that all the credit card transactions are going back and forth, as VSAT technology. What we do at Panasonic is really different. We took all this technology that existed for other markets, we adapted it for the airplane. That's our forte. All the other pieces already existed in the marketplace, but we had to say, okay, how do you put it on an airplane? How do you make it really small? How do you make it super reliable? That's what Panasonic does well.
So Panasonic manufactures the antenna and the modem box?
We actually help design the antenna. We worked with another company here, EMS. It's actually demonstrating here, and they manufacture that antenna for us.
Okay.
And all the other electronics that go with it, we manufacture, designed and manufactured ourselves.
What made Panasonic want to get into this market? Were you approached by the business aviation market, or did you see an opportunity to expand your business?
That's a great question. We'd always been looking at this market and saying, is there something we could do here? Because we're so strong and very successful in the air transport market. But this is a very unusual market and very tough customer group with very high expectations. And we'd always been concerned about, are we really prepared to meet their expectations? But we had a couple of situations where some airlines of a particular countries support the head of state airplane for their premier or their king and so on. And they said to us, hey, if you're going to supply us with this product for these 30 airplanes, you need to do one more airplane for our king or for our premier. And so we said, okay, we're in. And it's actually been great for us and for the customer because they get the benefit of having a consistent product across that whole fleet.
Now, Panasonic is very prevalent in the air transport IFE market. You're on some of the biggest,
virtually every airline.
Any plans to go into the IFE market for business aviation?
It's something that we continue to look at, but to date we have just we've supplied pieces to other people who are integrators in this marketplace. They know it well, they're prepared for it, but it's one of those that we continue to look at, and someday something may happen, but today we're going to focus on, let's just do this communications product. It transfers very well to this market. We know it's in high demand, and then let's see if that leads to something else. But we're, as a company in our culture, we're very conservative. We'll look at things, and it can take 5 or 6 years before we finally take that first step in. This one we're announcing here this year actually has been thought about for a long time, and finally we made kind of the step into this, kind of pulled by customer demand. And we'd kind of like to see, okay, if that's the case in in-flight entertainment, let's see if the customers really want that. Let's see if it makes sense. And we continue to talk to all the major aircraft OEMs, and we'll see if do they think we could somehow offer some benefit in this marketplace.